Iranians have been studying the Israeli way of war, and they can anticipate. And so when the Israelis made a decision that they were going to go through Jordan, fly through Western Iraq, and go to Salahuddin, north of Baghdad, for their weapons release area, the Iranians had anticipated this, and they were locking on to F-35s. And the Israelis were going, this can't happen. How can you lock? We're not even in Iran, and you're locking on to us. How are you doing this? Well, it's because Iran has been preparing for this fight for a very long time.
The discussion began with the case of Israeli F-35 stealth jets attempting to penetrate Iranian airspace. Ritter and Martyanov emphasized that Iran's air defenses proved unexpectedly formidable, illustrating that stealth technology was insufficient against advanced detection and missile capabilities.
They have some of the most advanced engineering and weapons design capabilities imaginable. They have produced air defense systems, indigenous air defense systems, that aren't just simply copies of the Russian S-300 and so. These are air defense systems that have been specifically built to deal with F-35s, F-22s, F-15s. The Iranians are, as Andrei said, some of the most advanced in the world. So the reason why I bring that up is the Israelis are going into a fight where the Iranians know just about everything there is to know about the Israelis, and the Israelis know nothing about the Iranian capabilities because they haven't gone up against them.
The speakers highlighted Iran's access to Russian early warning systems, including satellite intelligence, which enhanced its defense against Israel's approach. Iran has invested heavily in indigenous air defense systems and electronic warfare capabilities, based partly on Russian technologies like the S-300 and S-400 systems, but adapted for Iran's unique terrain and climate. These systems have evolved specifically to counter US and Israeli aircraft, including high-tech models like the F-35. Ritter emphasized that Iran's abilities surprised the Israeli forces, who likely underestimated Iran's technology and intelligence preparation. Martyanov added that the concept of stealth is becoming outdated, as modern signal processing and data fusion in air defense technologies can detect even the latest aircraft.
And we know, remember, a few years back, they actually intercepted their communications to one of their Global Hawk, I believe. And guess what? They intercepted, took over the communications and landed the thing successfully in Iran. That was like, wow, the moment of. So, and they do have very decent electronic warfare systems.
With electronic warfare systems and data sharing among allies like Russia, Iran demonstrated that it could neutralize advanced stealth jets, indicating a major shift in the balance of power in air defense. Ritter provided historical context by recounting instances where Iran successfully countered US and Israeli technology, such as intercepting and commandeering a US RQ-170 Sentinel stealth drone. The Iranians had studied US and Israeli operations for years, learning their tactics and systems. They had even cracked encrypted US military communication systems in previous conflicts, which demonstrated their technological ingenuity and strategic foresight. This intense preparation means Iran is not only capable of defending itself, but is also one step ahead in anticipating Israeli maneuvers. Ritter noted that Iran's high-quality military engineering has positioned it as a formidable peer or better force, particularly in air defense and electronic warfare. This preparedness has created a new status quo in which Iran is no longer viewed as a minor player, but as a military force capable of standing up to Israel and even the United States in certain defensive contexts. The failed Israeli strike and Iran's successful defense had wider geopolitical implications. According to Ritter, Israel's failure exposed weaknesses in its military approach, shaking confidence among its allies, especially the US and NATO countries, who rely heavily on Israeli and American air power. This was intended to be a show of strength, a deterrent, but instead, it highlighted vulnerabilities. Ritter mentioned that Israel's actions served to demoralize its forces and further embolden Iran, which now knows it can repel Israeli attacks. This shift challenges the long-standing perception of Israel's military invincibility in the region, particularly among NATO members who depend on Israel's role as a Western stronghold in the Middle East. Ritter speculated that this dynamic might alter regional alliances, with countries potentially reconsidering their support for Israel's military capabilities if they continue to underperform against Iran. The talk highlighted the reputational damage to Western military technology, especially the F-35, an aircraft touted as nearly invincible. Ritter noted that Iran's ability to detect and target these jets demonstrates the limitations of stealth technology. For NATO members who have invested heavily in the F-35, this revelation could prompt questions about its value against adversaries with advanced air defenses. The panelists pointed out that if a country like Iran can successfully repel Israel and the US, then other nations, especially those wary of Western intervention, might seek similar defensive capabilities. This could undermine the strategic advantages that the US and its allies have held for decades, potentially leading to a reevaluation of NATO's reliance on the F-35 and other high-tech assets. Ritter and Martyanov also discussed the broader ramifications for regional stability. Iran's success in fending off Israel's attacks not only emboldens its position in the Middle East, but also encourages allies like Hezbollah, who are closely aligned with Iran. According to Ritter, this shift in the power dynamic could destabilize Israeli deterrence, which relies on projecting strength. With Iran now perceived as possessing an effective deterrent against Israeli and American incursions. Moving back to Israel, Ritter provided insights into Israel's escalating issues on its northern border with Hezbollah in Lebanon. He explained that Israel had miscalculated Hezbollah's defensive preparedness and tenacity. Hezbollah has had over a decade to fortify positions and develop detailed defensive plans across southern Lebanon, making it exceedingly difficult for Israeli forces to make any meaningful advances. Reports indicated that Israeli casualties in southern Lebanon were rising, leading to demoralization among troops and even high desertion rates. This, according to Ritter, shows that Israel may not be able to sustain prolonged engagements against Hezbollah, which has proven capable of inflicting substantial losses on Israeli forces. Ritter suggested that if Israel were to withdraw from Lebanon, Hezbollah might seize the opportunity to push further south into Israeli territory, creating an unprecedented situation where Israeli towns could fall under Hezbollah control. Such an outcome would constitute a significant strategic failure for Israel and could fundamentally alter the region's political landscape. Ritter emphasized that Israel's inability to suppress Hezbollah effectively undermines its security doctrine, which relies on swift and overwhelming force to neutralize threats. Ritter and Martyanov argued that these conflicts, Israel-Iran and Israel-Hezbollah, exemplify a broader shift in global military dynamics. The dominance of US-backed forces, long based on technological superiority and air power, is now contested by nations capable of fielding strong air defenses and engaging in sophisticated electronic warfare. They concluded that the US might have to reconsider its military and diplomatic strategies, as its long-held advantages may be diminishing against well-prepared, technologically proficient adversaries. Ritter underscored the potential decline of US influence in regions where its military technology no longer guarantees superiority. With countries like Iran successfully standing up to allies of the US, the American promise of security through technological superiority might lose credibility. This could lead to a significant reconfiguration of alliances and military policies as countries recognize that they can effectively resist the US and its allies with the right preparation and technology. The conversation concluded with reflections on Israel's internal challenges, particularly regarding military morale and political stability. High casualty rates and a sense of futility in prolonged conflicts could pressure the Israeli government domestically and internationally. Ritter and Martyanov suggested that Israel's current approach could lead to political instability, especially if public support dwindles due to military setbacks and economic strain. This may, in turn, open the door for renewed diplomatic efforts or shift the dynamics of power within Israel and its regional alliances. Scott Ritter and Andrei Martyanov's talk illuminated a world where technological and strategic changes are reshaping global power. Israel's setbacks against Iran and Hezbollah highlight emerging vulnerabilities in Western military dominance, particularly in the Middle East. With advancements in air defense and electronic warfare challenging the effectiveness of stealth technology and conventional air power, the US and its allies may need to reconsider their military and diplomatic strategies. This changing balance of power could redefine alliances and strategies for the foreseeable future, as both Iran and Hezbollah continue to demonstrate formidable defenses against long-standing regional powers.